Give you all a couple of seconds to join. Share this out if you can, and then I'll be doing my normal thing, sharing it out in the background. But I'm joined today with independent Senate candidate David Strider, Green Party Senate candidate Christina Khalil, right, for New Jersey. Khalil.
Yes.
And Jason Call, Washington Congress.
Second district.
And I think, hopefully we will put all of you guys' information. Make sure to like and follow each of these candidates. All of us are online right now complaining about how horrible things have been going. I think whether you're left, right, green, independent, everybody in the middle, we can all agree this is not working. Right. And the only way for us to fix that is to put people in office that actually care about us, care about our policies, care about our values, care about our citizens. Right now, the people in office care about their rich donors, their corporate interest, and that's it. I think they've proved that over and over and over and over again. As we look out with the writers and the actors strikes that are going on right now. And you see the media try to paint this as a two sides, right? As we need to give people both sides equal time. What? There is no both sides. You're either with the workers or you're not, right? Yes. There isn't a bipartisan part of that where we can say, well, we've already tried you can chain us to machines until we finally die working. We've already tried the Reaganomics game. We've already tried each and every one of these. We've already tried you can't leave your desk, you need to piss in a bottle twice. My grandmother, right, was protesting at a chip factory, right, just for the ability to take a piss break. Just for the ability to get up and be able to go to the bathroom. 2023, Amazon workers are still fighting for that same right. Obviously, this isn't working. So I'm going to let each of our candidates introduce themselves, and we'll probably get right into really discussing how we went wrong with workers' rights, with supporting our unions and supporting our workers. Take it away, Dave.
Unions, the backbone of America's industry. Without the unions, we wouldn't have 40-hour work weeks. Without the unions, we wouldn't have vacation pay. Without unions, we wouldn't have sick time. Without unions, there's a lot of things that we as workers that work in industry would not have had. You know this, and I know this if you know somebody who works in a union. The automotive union. So, we need to support these union members. The same thing goes with the unions that are on strike down in California, the SAG-NAFTA. I have friends, Stephanie Hodge, for one, actress and comedian. Tony Ginn, who is a writer and also actor. And Richard Viteri, Pulitzer Prize winner and actor himself. Those are the three outstanding people that I know in my career, and they are protesting for better conditions.
Jason, I think in the coin toss, you would won for the next intro.
Well, I was going to wear this hat on this because I knew what we were talking about, but I got a little beanie hat here that says that I wear everywhere, and it says no war but class war. And that is, my mantra on label. I was a union member for almost 20 years. I was a high school teacher for 18 years, union member, union activist, member of my, I was elected to be on my local board, and I was elected to be a representative of our state assembly for the Washington Education Association from my district a number of years in a row. And I'm building rep for most of my career as a teacher as well. So I am hugely in support of workers' rights. Workers produce all value. This idea that trickle-down economics and that the billionaires are the ones who are the job creators is ludicrous. I don't understand how many people have bought into this and for so long. So as I was saying, as we were chatting before, over the last couple of years, almost the only thing that has been inspiring to me in politics is the fact that the labor movement is waking up. I have picketed over the last few years with striking cement workers when I went down to visit them in Seattle, and you probably will remember this strike, David. But when I went to visit them down in Seattle, and these are, a lot of them are really sort of politically conservative, but they're union members, and they said not a single federal representative or state representative, for that matter, had visited them on the picket lines or talked with them at all. Our political system, our elected establishment political system, does not care about workers at all. The Democrats mouth the words, but when it comes to putting words into action, the Democratic Party does not stand for workers. This is quite clear. They stand for the corporate donors. So all power to the workers, and I look forward to a great conversation.
Excellent. Thank you. Christina, please.
Okay, so I totally support unions. I'm going to just do a quick shout out. So Ben and Jerry, I know you guys are for unions, but you guys should donate to us, because you did get caught with child workers, and that's what I'm going to go and to prove that you are for unions. Donate to us, not the corporate greed. But we do need unions in every establishment, especially since the rollbacks of the child labor movements, and children are going to be forced and not to work in hazardous conditions, and they're going to be exposed to very dangerous situations, especially sexual assault, abuse, and will be taken advantage of and have their pay cut. So unions are going to be able to be there to make sure the kids are of appropriate age. If someone does try to take advantage of them in those red states, that the unions will be there to back them up and make sure no one's taking advantage of them. Unions, in my line of work, because I do work for a prison, unions do save us, where we work with, when we are exposed to the very dangerous populations, if someone has one of us as a target, the supervisors would tend to put us in the lion's den and say, just deal with it. And they rather react instead of being proactive in that situation, wait until the damage is done. But when we go to the unions and we're just like, hey, we fear for our lives, we're in danger, we don't mind working with this population, we just can't work with this specific person at this moment, unions will come in and force that, hey, you have to make sure that this employee is safe and make sure that we're being proactive instead of reactive. And unions do so much more than just keeping us safe. And I'm going to grab my little sheet here. So unions also help with credit card building programs. They also help with wireless discount programs. They help with mortgage programs. They help with car and truck savings. They help with everyday discounts. And they also have a Union Plus free college program.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's with unions specifically, I think we were both talking earlier, we both lived overseas, grew up overseas, where workers' unions are part of daily life. A society without unions doesn't even make sense to most European countries. And like healthcare, which I know we're not talking about that now, but they keep on asking the question that we already have the answer to. The usefulness, the need for unions has already been proven. We had a whole workers' revolution over this. And then again in 2023 with child labor, with things like that, we've already asked these questions, already answered them. Definitely bad idea, right? We've already seen what work life is like without unions several times throughout American history. It totally sucked, right? We've seen what happens when our leaders stand against unions in things like the railway workers. Entire trains explode, right? And we end up chemically nuking entire towns in Ohio. And you can count the amount of dangerous conditions, the amount of overtime, of not giving workers paid leave. So they're sick, they're not paying attention. If you don't get leave and you have to make your mortgage and you have to work to pay your mortgage, then you can't take off, no matter how sick you are. And when you are that sick, you're going to make mistakes at work. And what gives those workers those rights, right, which make us safer. That town in Ohio probably would have been saved with a strong union.
Yeah.
Right, with actual
It would have
rights, with
been.
actual union standardization. But when they took those rights away from them, those are the results, right? Cause and effect. I don't think we can make it any clearer. But we've been through this so many times. We've asked this question, and it seems like we're back here, the same place we were in the 20s.
Yeah.
Well, Terrence, with the situation in Ohio, the union the workers there had identified the problems, the brake failures that ended up causing that wreck. They had identified those and put that in front of management. Management didn't fix the problem. They had been identifying for a long time that they were short-staffed on these railroads, especially with safety inspections. So one of the things that we recognize as union workers, and it seems, it gets cast a lot as workers being greedy, but the bosses make massive amounts of money and they donate massive amounts of money to political candidates. I mean, Norfolk Southern was, I want to say it was the second highest donor of all of the individual railroads behind BNSF to political candidates, and they donate to Democrats and Republicans relatively equally. In fact, Norfolk Southern donated more in 2022 to Democrats than they did to Republicans. And the sad thing is the workers, and this pretty much goes for any industry, the workers know what is safe, the workers know what is healthy, the workers know what is fair. And when we're specifically talking about safety conditions, it's kind of a saying that, minimum of 5 people have to die before the ownership class will make any changes, or the political class will change a law to make things safer. And that in itself shows you the complete disregard that the ownership class has for the life of the people that actually produce the labor, and we should translate that to every other sphere of our life. Why do we not get the health care we need? Why do we not get the housing that we need? The reality is that the capitalist class, the ownership class, the business class, the billionaire class, they simply do not care about the rest of us, and we should stop pretending that they do.
Well, and you look, as you mentioned before, and that, somehow the workers are being too greedy. Underneath all of that, this train company is owned by Berkshire Hathaway. You're telling me Berkshire Hathaway, the most expensive stock that you can buy, right? Arguably one of the most successful, companies ever, trading companies ever, is hurting for cash. They can't afford to pay their workers.
Well, what they don't want to do is set precedent. They don't want it.
It's about time that we made them set precedents. It's about time we made them set it, because too many people are getting hurt. We've got poison water. We've got aquifers that are no more use. It's going to take 1,000 years for them to recover.
PFAS. Just from moving here, David had hooked me up with some other activists here, and they did a study of the breast milk of 60 women in Puget Sound, right? 100% of their breast milk, every single one of them, right, had PFAS in their breast milk from drinking the water there.
In New Jersey, in the suburban towns, there's 34 towns in New Jersey that have high levels of PFAS. We are told in the report, and they tried to cover it, we cannot drink the water or use it to boil until between 2024 and 2025. So in those towns, we have to buy our own water, bring in alkaline water. So I could just imagine in urban communities how much higher it is, because they just refuse to test their water.
Well, they either refuse to test it, or when they get the water back, they just raise the levels. They'll raise the acceptable level, and they get to choose what the acceptable level is. Because you'll get some of these back, and you'll be like, what do you mean the acceptable level of uranium? My water should have no uranium in it.
Yeah.
Right? And they'll be like, well, it's within acceptable levels. What? That was the one thing that their answers to East Palestine scared the crap out of me. when they started saying those exact words. Well, it's now in acceptable levels. No, you're not supposed to have any of that crap in your system.
No.
Well,
Right?
I remember
they say the same thing about the water in Flint, you know.
Oh, they've told us
Yeah.
it's still poison. It's still poison. And every 6 months they tell us, oh, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
I remember when we had the LNG plant going in out here in the harbor, and I was very adamant about that. And I said, I have right here 13 different carcinogens that are in our water, and you want to put an LNG plant in our water supply? I said, if I had my way, I would never use your services again. And I looked at the PSE people there and the Dayton Power, the Tacoma Power and Light. I said, you are poisoning our water. You are killing the population here.
It's interesting you bring up PSE, David, because PSE is the largest energy donor to the candidate that I am challenging, Rick Larson.
I think it's interesting that fossil fuels, less than 10 years ago, right, during the hurricanes, Maria, they were getting so much bad publicity that they all came out and they told you they were going to do this. They came out and said, we're no longer going to refer to it as fossil fuels. We're no longer going to refer to it as oil. We're now going to refer to it as energy. And the entire country, media and politicians, left and right, all agreed to it and now do it just fine. Yeah. In every instance, when we say the words energy in these things, we only mean oil. There is no shortage of energy on our planet. There's so much energy coming off of the giant fusion reactor in the sky. If you look directly at it, it will blind you. Right? We have got no shortage of energies. The tides are still coming in and unstoppable. The wind's still
plenty of geothermal energy.
But they'll put the word energy, but they don't.
I have solar panels myself.
They don't mean anything.
I have solar panels on my roof.
Fuels. Yeah. You're right.
But 10 years ago, if you look, 10 years ago, we were having the conversation, fracking, all of this. And then the Republicans came out and said, they made an official statement about it. We're no longer referring to it as fossil fuels. We're only going to talk about as it is energy. And sure as shit, the entire country just went along with it.
Yeah.
Mind blowing to me. Sorry, I know I got a little bit, but
no, you identify a good point, Terrence. You
really do.
So good on.
running natural gas through your water supply.
PSC is mostly a natural gas company, I believe.
Super bad idea. Super bad idea.
I look at, there's something else I want to add to it too, and that is, they say that corporations can't be sued. Well, because they told us corporations are people. Well, guess what? I can sue the corporations. I can sue the board of directors. I can take everything that board of directors have. I can make sure I can strip them of their riches. I can put them in jail if I want to, especially the ones that, how many houses we lose down in California because a PSE didn't want to shut the power off? How many people died? I mean, down there in Central California.
We were talking earlier about it takes 5 people, right, being killed in a situation, in a factory or whatever before they'll make any changes, right? You got to be 5 people have to be crushed. But there's a little caveat to that, because there was probably 200 people that were crushed that they came up with little excuses on why it actually wasn't a safety violation on their fault. Right, where finally there were 5 people that you cannot deny it under any circumstances. That poor guy that they pretty much dipped in Monsanto Roundup for 10 years at a school, right? Like they just could not deny it any farther, right? Those are the 5 people. But the 200 that were crushed before it, right? Those didn't count. East Palestine. How many water protectors and activists and anybody have came out and been saying, look, you can't run these chemicals over our waterways, right? They've been screaming about these problems and completely ignored.
Totally. And it just, everything that happened there in East Palestine went right down the Ohio River into the Mississippi.
I would argue, and I know this isn't going to be popular, that some of it is on purpose. When you ask, wait, why isn't the disposal system right next to the plant that you're making that crap at? Like, we have to send it to the other side of the country. And if it happens to spill on the way by, it's a lot cheaper for us to just pay the fine than it was to get rid of it.
Yeah, I agree. Because if they cared, they would have all the preventive measures in place. And I just want to bring back the union. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Stryker. Okay, so Stryker is this worldwide. Maybe they're definitely located in different countries. They create like body part replacements and medical needs and medical cares. And one of the local places that do not have a union, and I just don't want his memory to be forgotten. He was the breadwinner of the household, 3 kids, a wife, and he asked for time off because he wasn't feeling well, and the boss said no, and he wound up passing away from a heart attack because he was not allowed to go to a doctor. And that's why
our workers are like, they feel like we're replaceable. You know, they just, you know, if you know, we play like they don't care. And I don't know if it's a mindset, is it a disorder? Like, I don't know what's wrong with somebody that makes them make those choices, but I do know the way to keep them from making those choices is to unionize.
Yeah.
Because as long as we put those kind of decisions, right, the hard decisions always end up with us dying.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, the whole I don't know what is wrong with them. Greed is powerful. You know, I think that's really what it comes down to. I mean, my opinion is, you know, every billionaire is a policy failure, and there are no good billionaires. What you have to do, I mean, somebody could argue, well, somebody just traded up or did something and $1 billion fell in their lap, and, you know, I don't buy any of that. I mean, you know, what we need to create the conditions in this country where such, you know, what it comes down to is that vast wealth inequality is inherently undemocratic. When you have people who have such vast amounts of wealth, and, you know, what people fathom what a billion is as a number. As a math teacher, I understand what a billion is as a number compared to even a million. Right. And the power that comes along with that money, it's not just the wealth itself, but it's the power that comes along with that money, where you can just, you know, create a PAC, donate X amount of money to a PAC. You can fund the politicians who are going to, you know, keep the laws the way that you want them, so that you can, you know, keep making the money like a feedback loop. I mean, it is amazing to me in a psychopathic way that people who are rich get so much richer, that the richest people in their country doubled their wealth, tripled their wealth through a pandemic that killed 1 million people. So when you talk about do rich people care about the rest of us? Do the politicians who take the money from the rich people care about the rest of us? All you got to do is look at what happened in the pandemic. A million people died. And then what would they not do? They would not cut us a check. The Democratic Party, a fucking Democratic president, could not even give us the $2,000 that they promised. No, we got a cap. Oh, he was fighting against the Republican. Look, if you're so afraid of Donald Trump because if he gets power, he will do whatever he wants to do, right? How come a Democratic president can't just do what they want to do? And I'm not talking about in a dictatorial sense. I'm talking about using the levers of power to ensure that the people who voted for him are taken care of. And the Democratic Party will not do that. They will not do that.
No, they will not.
Give the excuse right there for you. You know, they'll give you the list of things that they just could not. When you say, hey, how come you couldn't stop Trump from doing this? How come you couldn't stop doing from that? They'll say, oh my God, he's so powerful. There was the office of the presidency. It's right underneath God. There was nothing that we could possibly do. And then when you're in power and you're like, well, take that kind of mindset and do stuff for us.
No, they'll get blocked by a
student debt.
Then there's nothing that they can do. It drives me crazy. The president of the United States can wake up at 4:00 in the morning, right, and murder anyone in the world with a drone strike without any oversight whatsoever. But he can't give us Medicare for all.
Right.
He can't cancel student debt.
Can't.
Well, it's a matter of not wanting to. You know, that is really what it comes down to. They don't want to.
He doesn't care.
And to their benefit, the Republicans won't take no for an answer. If
True.
if we say no something, they will put it in every bill. It will be at every speech. They will just keep on it. If it takes them 50, let's say just as an example, if it takes them 50 years to put people in power to undermine women's right to choose, abortion rights, they'll do it. Name something that the Democrats have spent 50 years that they put their people in power to change on that scale.
Yeah, nothing.
Not one thing. You don't think there was
Which
one?
brings me,
Not one.
Not one.
you know, I want to say, you know, in terms of, so I want to talk about the dark side of unions, and as a union member, and as a progressive candidate, I'm
happy you brought this up. I didn't know if I should have brought this
pretty
up.
much everywhere. Unions, the union rank and file is not always the same as union leadership. Union leadership is very much tied to the management class. And when it comes down to it, many of the larger unions, like the Teamsters, I think they've already endorsed Joe Biden. I may be wrong about that, but I think that they have already endorsed Joe Biden. And if they haven't yet, they're gonna, right? Same thing with the guy that I am running against, who is terrible on labor issues, and everybody here knows he's terrible on labor issues, you know, and the unions in my district, even though I have like a fully pro-worker platform, the unions are not going to endorse me, right? Mm-hmm. They're not going to encourage their membership to vote for me, because union leadership wants access. It doesn't have anything to do with values. They want access, because what they know is if they endorse a progressive pro-union candidate who maybe doesn't have that great of a chance of winning, and let's just consider the political system, we know that progressives are underdogs in this system. So if a union turns around and they endorse a progressive, and that progressive loses the seat, what they have to now contend with is an incumbent who knows that they endorse somebody against them, and that incumbent will then shut the union out, right? That's how petty politics is.
And yeah, that is so childish and unprofessional, and it just speaks volumes. We should not have elected officials that are emotionally dysregulated, that can't handle constructive criticism and being challenged.
I like that. And I don't really take too much care or too much into tit for tat. Well, you didn't support us, you supported this other guy, like you were just mentioning, Jason. You know, if you had done your job in the first place, you probably would have got our endorsement. And I don't like Citizens United. I don't like being bought by a politician. I don't like the idea that I may have to do this in order to get your vote. Hell no. I am of, by, and for the people. And if it doesn't say of, by, and for the people, damn it, it ain't going to happen and I'm going to tell you why it's not going to happen. And if you are slamming us in the polls or whatever, I'm going to slam you right back. Because being a United States Marine, I don't take crap from nobody. And I'm going to tell you what the truth is. And if you don't like it, take a hike.
I will say from this, it's going to be a hard fight for sure, but America loves an underdog. If we don't have that huge influence and their dirty money and the politics and the connections, we at least have the ability to say, yeah, well, we're an underdog. And America loves that. Right, I would say
we're an underdog, but we also stand for the things that are going to improve your lives. I mean, that should be the real message to the people, is that we stand for the things that are going to improve your lives.
We saw that same divide in the leadership during the run up to the train strike that didn't end up happening. But we saw a real divide between what the workers and the members of the union were saying and what their leadership and the administration were saying. That was a real clear view of the problem, but every union member still gets one vote. And fixing the structural problems inside of unions needs to be both done through policy, right, but also through the union members. As far as our politicians are concerned, we need politicians that will fight for union rights, that will codify union rights.
Yeah.
We should be arguing about this for each. I remember both of us grew up, like, again, overseas. So even when I was working as a chef, we belonged to a union. I hadn't lived in a world that didn't have them until I came to the United States. And then I was shocked. Somebody had told me it's a right to work state. And in my mind, I didn't know what it was. So I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You have a right to work, of course. Yeah, right on. That makes, everybody comes in for a job. Right for work just means they can fire you at any fucking time for no reason.
It's a wonderful euphemism, isn't it?
Yeah. You want to join a union?
Yeah.
Right to work. Get the fuck out of here. Right? It's a right to work somewhere else, but it has nothing to do with your right to work. And we have to get around where our politicians are writing policies that are specifically geared to protect a worker's right to join a union. Whether a corporation likes the union or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and a prime example of that is there are a lot of state employees currently in New Jersey. It's around the time to get raises, and this is their way, even though the Democrats and the Republicans support unions, they have the money, but they're like, we don't know when we're going to be able to give raises. We can only do it.
Unions. They say the words.
We do it through the union. Yep.
Every single one of them, just like this. They go on CNN, NBC, to name it what it is. And they start it off, well, I support unions. And then they go on to tell you all the other ways that they're going to screw you over. Right? You are hard up to find a U.S. politician that does not say the words, I support unions and I support workers. But that's all. It's completely and utterly empty rhetoric. It means worse than nothing. They're against you. Like the exact opposite.
Yeah. Well, the best way for me to explain it is I support the workers and the unions that they are members of.
Well, from the Republican side, if you're like, look, I just don't, you don't support unions, communism, blah, 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 whatever bullshit that they're pushing, well, then you would think on the other side, well, then you'd make laws that would keep your workers, that would keep, overtime pay, minimum standards that you would.
Basically the things that unions are fighting for, right? If you don't want them to unionize.
But if you said, hey, I don't want to do it through a union for some sort of weird Reagan worshiping, reason, fair enough. They do that with a lot. Every time there's a gun shooting, they say, oh, this is a mental health issue. Where are all the Republican mental health bills then? Y'all should be flooding it with mental health bills if that's the case.
And what a lot of people don't know is unions actually have developed and have a lot of supportive mental health programs out there in New Jersey.
Knowing that you have security in your job is mental health support.
Yeah.
You would be surprised how much better people feel when they know, all right, I'm going to be employed and be able to feed my family this month. That makes me feel pretty fucking good. Knowing that you're going to want an extra $100,000 in your pocket to buy a yacht, right? Or to dive to the bottom of the Titanic, right? And you're going to fire me because of it. That scares the crap out of me. That caused me mental anguish.
I understand orcas are swimming around the Titanic right now looking for more deep sea divers.
I heard they were doing a conga line.
I wanted to make one more comment about what I had said about unions endorsing for access rather than endorsing somebody who is actually stands for the things that they want to see achieved. When they, and this actually doesn't just go for unions, this goes for any organization that gives out endorsement, like environmental organizations, for instance, pro LGBTQ organizations, for instance, whatever it might be, women's rights or abortion rights or whatever. When you endorse somebody who is not going to fight for the things, and when I say fight, I don't mean just like, oh yeah, I'd vote for that. I mean actually fight for those things. When you endorse somebody who does not really stand for what you stand for, you are giving them a free pass to say that they do.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the worst things, because they can now go into the public and say, hey, look, I'm going to do one that really grinds my gears here in district simply because of who I'm running against. And just by the way, Rick Larson in Washington's 2nd District has been here for 12 terms, funded by the fossil fuel industry and the war machine. He is the most corporate Democrat in Washington state by percentage of his funding, and fully into the war machine. I mean, he sits on House Armed Services his entire career, and he is now the ranking Democrat. He was chair of aviation, but now the ranking Democrat on House Transportation. And his voice means that we're never gonna get a green transportation system, because he is bought off by the fossil fuel industry. So I was going to say the energy industry, but this is the fossil fuel industry and the transportation industry for that matter.
That's not what you meant. That's not what you meant at all.
But the Sierra Club and the League of Conservation Voters both endorsed him. Why do they endorse him over me? Because they have just decided that he's got a better chance at winning, and he's not a Republican. So now he gets to go out there and he gets to say, hey, look, I'm an environmentalist. I was endorsed by the Sierra Club. I was endorsed by the League of Conservations. Hey, I am pro-labor. I was endorsed by these unions. It's complete bullshit. It's a farce. And it does real damage. Here's the point. It does real damage to your own movement when you endorse somebody who doesn't actually stand for the principles you stand for.
We get the situation that we are in now. I mean, it's not like these are hypothetical questions, right? It's not like this is, it's not like we're playing through the ideas. This is what the world we live in right now.
Yeah.
Right. It's where you hear people say, oh, why do Republicans vote against their own interests? Why are we voting against our own interests?
It's
when and especially when you have politicians that they've been in their entire life. I'm not calling out. Everybody knows my stance on the big guy, but when you have someone like Biden that votes, literally wrote a executive order to undermine union rights. When you look at his entire career, can you really trust somebody that says the words "I support unions" and has never been to a single union protest? Not one in 40 years. Of all of the horrible things that have happened to workers, that people have to strike over, from cereal factories, to coal miners, right? You can name it. In 40 years, you never felt strong enough to stand with them physically as a real person on the picket line one time. Not one time.
Well,
years.
He's the most progressive president ever, right?
I keep reading that. It drives me crazy.
It's one of those things when you've set the bar so low, you can say things like that. Right? He is the most progressive president ever, right? When you look at the shitbags that we've ran, and there are horrible. Trump gets the absolute horrible. Johnson used to pee on his staff to show dominance. We have had you guys look that crap up. It is real deal.
No, Johnson was not a great guy. If he felt that he was being disrespected in office, right, he would walk over and whip out his junk and pee on his staff to show dominance. I can do whatever I want, and they would never speak up to me. That's the office of the presidency. Right. So, when you look at Reagan was president on the Reagan seems more progressive than Biden at times. But we'll argue that in the long line, I guess compared to Bush, you've killed moderately less children by drone strike than Obama.
Cluster bombs.
I guess that's progressive.
I honestly, I don't think in any world Biden could be considered the most progressive president ever. And I could go back to Carter. I could go back to Carter, and I could go back to and not that Carter didn't have his own issues, but then I could go back to Roosevelt. So
but it is sad that it's not just the presidency. I do focus on that a lot because look, you're the guy driving the bus, right? You got to expect the heat from it. If you're driving you off the cliff, granted, talking to everybody else on the bus is important, and maybe they did or didn't have anything to do with it, but you are driving. Well,
here's the thing. I think one of the things that we have to recognize that in our capitalist duopoly system, it doesn't matter who is driving the bus is going off the cliff. That is the truth. Capitalism as an economic system is the bus is going off the cliff one way or the other. It doesn't matter who's there. So you want a kinder, gentler, maybe slower ride off of the cliff, or do you want to just put the pedal to the metal and shoot right over the edge? I mean, that's the choice that we have right now. That is, my opinion on economics.
But the important thing that voters have to remember no matter what you hear from the corporate media, it doesn't have to be
it
this
doesn't.
way.
Doesn't.
It would be different if it was a force and a law of nature that it just had to be. It does not have to be this way. We really can vote for third parties. We really can vote for people that stand for our actual policies.
Yeah.
We don't have to take lies and corporate corruption. We have a choice right now. It might not last forever. It might be coming to an end real quick here, right? But as it sits,
I think that we are in an election cycle coming up in 24. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are just sick and tired, and I think that if we work together, and I think that like we're meeting here today, I think that if we hone our messages for our constituents, and we are able to get those things out, I think that we can get our message out. People are going to hear it because it's not something that they've heard, and they're going to say, "Wait, man, that." No, it's the truth. I never had to retract a statement. I'm going to tell you the truth. If you don't think it's the truth, let's talk about it so I can show you what I know is the truth. I don't have any problems debating with other people, but at the same time, we have to maintain that level of honesty so that the people see it, so that people feel it. And I think we can do it. I think we can overcome it just by reaching out to more progressives, more independents, more Green Party, more people who are wanting to get the message to the people, because we are not getting the message to the people. We're dealing with political theater, and we got fascists in our Congress right now.
I think
we need somebody that.
Sorry, you could finish.
Go ahead.
And I think it starts with acknowledging that, and this is from the mental health aspect of everything, is that a lot of people are uneducated and fearful, and there's high anxiety. And when there's high anxiety, there's no ability to have critical thinking. So your frontal lobe is not functioning. So when it comes to what's the best decision, everyone's just like, let me copy and paste. Let me do what I've done before. And it's just even having the discussion, because I was a Democrat and then I switched to Green Party. And the biggest reason why I switched to Green Party is because, and being honest, like I spoke with a lot of Democratic caucuses in New Jersey, and they loved the platform. They loved everything, but they made it very clear to me that they were still going to support Menendez, even though he's corrupt. He's on another federal trial, and they did not care about the people at all. They're like, we are not going to support you or the people. We're going to support him because that's what we've always done. And in order to make the change, we have to be brave. We have to step outside our comfort zone. That's the only way we're going to grow.
You're exactly right, Christine.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, that's the I spent 4 years.
Look at Tina Turner. It was heartbreaking to see. I like a lot of what Nina Turner stood for, but she stood strong with the Democratic Party that was openly and publicly destroying her, like in front of everyone. Yeah. It was just the weirdest moment where no matter how much they're all like, look, we're going to undermine everything about your platform in front of you, and you'll still come back and stay with the party. And not only that, at the end of the day, you'll support our candidate.
It's the power of the institution, right? That's what it is. It's the power. It's the power of the institution. I was going to say that I spent 4 years as a Democrat, and my political history is, I voted for Ralph Nader and twice in '96 and 2000. I'm proud of those votes. I was not going to vote for Clinton. I was not going to vote for Gore. When George Bush came into office and we got into the Iraq War, I did go to work for first Howard Dean, then Dennis Kucinich, and then eventually John Kerry, who was just a lame candidate. But I was so anti-war, and still am anti-war, that I felt like I had to work for the Democratic Party. I think when you have somebody at that time who was as bad as George Bush was, like, I didn't think it could get worse. Obviously it got worse. But if you remember,
that didn't age
well. But I did 4 years on the Washington State Democrats Central Committee as a Bernie Sanders activist. We won the Washington State for Bernie 73% in the 2016 caucuses. I got myself elected
True.
to the state central committee because I brought a lot of people into the Democratic Party, and they voted me into a leadership position. When I got to that highest level, like the Democratic Central Committee is the governing body of Democrats in a state, right? I helped rewrite the platform to be the most progressive it has ever been. But what you're saying, Christina, is exactly right, because I started talking about, well, now we've got a progressive platform that everybody in this room agrees is great, you know, supportive Medicare for all, supportive housing for all, gun legislation, and whatever progressive thing that you could think of. We got it in there, and it passed like, you know, virtually 100%. There were very few dissenters when you put that actual platform in front of people. And I started having the conversation. Now, let's start holding our elected officials accountable to it at the state level.
I remember
At the
that.
state level,
I remember
federal
that, Jason.
level, and that's when they started going, no, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
These are good Democrats. Well, they don't support half of what we say we support. They don't care. They don't care. We want to.
Yeah, no, it's one of those. It's one of those. You get in, you're like, oh, you got to go to dinner with Joe Manchin.
Well,
what?
Mitch McConnell now is a great guy.
He's a good Democrat. What?
Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, I gave up my vote for Anita Latch. She was part of the committee that went to Philadelphia. Do you know her?
Anita. Yes, I do.
Yeah, and she's the one who got me into the party. But she's also, you know, and she was very supportive, and I was very supported in casting my vote so that she could go to Philly, because, you know, she's very adamant about what her positions and everything. And you know, it was just one of those things, you know, it just did not happen, you know, for the people of Washington. And what they did, Jason, was unacceptable. And you know, of, by, and for the people. That's where I stand. And that goes for unions too. A union is of, by, and for the people when you think about it. And if it's not, if it's not for those people who are in the lower ranks, nothing's going to get done. There's not going to be safety issues. There's not going to be people, you know, showing up for work. They won't give a care. That's why those people in the trenches, you know, who are doing all the legwork, those are the people who need to be supported the highest.
I agree.
Well, and it's interesting that you know, and Lord knows the man had all sorts of other issues that we can talk about, but something that Henry Ford truly understood, right, was that a healthy, safe working population, right, worked better. He made better cars that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you've got a heart out. I'm gonna the better, safer, the more secure his workers felt, the better, faster they were making cars. In that healthy people, secure people make better products. And you can see, along with as the undermining of unions happened in America, you can see the globe stop looking at American products as being quality. And those two things happen right next to each other. Where it used to be, if it had that American steel stamp on it, if it had that made in Illinois stamp on it, that meant, wow, you couldn't destroy whatever this tool was. And now, like I said, as the unions became undermined, you see that support of American products also got undermined right next to it.
Yes, it did.
I think we lost Christina for a second. I just wanted to make, while I've got both of you here, to kind of get we're going to go on a little bit after Jason leaves, but I know he's got an appointment. Thank you so much for coming on. You know, at both short notice, and you didn't have a lot of time to give to us, but thank you again. Make sure to give out your website and contact information. And then, you know, if you want to take a couple of seconds specifically on unions and your platform, I'm going to give the floor and the screen completely to you.
Okay.
I'm listening, Jason. I'm listening, buddy.
Well, so I go right now. Okay, so my name's Jason Call, running for Congress in Washington State 2nd District, running against the most corporate and conservative Democrat in the state of Washington. One of the most corporate and conservative in the country, by the way. He is actually in the top 15% of most conservative Democrats by alignment with the American Conservative Union and their priorities. So that should tell you something. it sides with management. We call him the representative from Boeing, so he sides with management often. But I am a progressive activist. I have been a progressive activist since I was a college freshman, an anti-war protester. I protested Desert Storm back in 1990. That was the first invasion of Iraq, and I've been protesting war essentially my entire adult life. I'm also on the board of Whole Washington. We are a single-payer healthcare advocacy group trying to get single-payer in Washington state in the absence of a federal Medicare for All bill, which I believe we need, Medicare for all. And I support Housing for All, Housing First policies. And you can go to my website, callforcongress.com, CALLFOR Congress.com, and see my range of platform issues, disability justice, LGBTQ justice, and so on. But also pro-labor. As I said before, I was a high school teacher for 18 years and was a union member elected to the board of my union, have been an elected representative to the state assembly a number of years. I'm not in education anymore, but during my career, I was a union activist, and my labor is pro-union. I support the PRO Act. I go beyond the PRO Act. I think we should do. I'm supportive of worker co-ops. I really think that, as a socialist myself, I think that most or all businesses should be run as worker co-ops, where workers get the share of the profits. That is, if you are putting labor into it, you should get equal value of your labor out of it. I support worker representation on corporate boards, much like they do in Germany. So I'm very pro-labor, and I don't know what else to say about that. I'm your union guy. So I hope you can check out my website, callforcongress.com. See your way to throwing a few dollars my way. I will say, just as a last thing, I've run for this race 3 times. This is my 3rd run. First one as a Green, ran twice as a Democrat before, have built up name recognition in my district. I got over 30,000 votes twice in a row. Certainly the strongest challenger that in the primary, certainly the strongest challenge from the left that incumbent Rick Larsen has ever had. And we are looking for union members. We are looking for youth. We are looking for anybody who is concerned about healthcare, and certainly at this point, anybody who is concerned about the climate. Rick Larsen is completely on the hook to the fossil fuel industry and the war machine, and I am completely independent. I would never take a dime of corporate PAC money. So, solid.
Hoorah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. Like I had said before, I know you had very limited time as it was. Our platform's always open to you. So anytime you'd like to come on, there's going to be a lot happening as the for 2024 to roll around. So my goal is to get as many independents, Greens, even progressives, but actual progressives on the platform, so that we can unite and get some real work done. Right? The idea of what the squad was supposed to be. Right? We need to actually do that, not play around with the idea, but the real deal, where we've got a unified front on certain issues that, just like I said, just like the Republicans, right? Anytime you're passing a bill, it better have some union rights in it. I don't care if it's a toilet paper bill. It better have some union rights in it. If the Republicans can put a abortion bill into a book funding, right? Then we'll put union rights into book funding, right? Pick the topics, but there should be that unified. They don't call each other and ask about abortion. They don't call each other and ask about rolling back gun legislation. They put it in absolutely everything.
Well, I want to say before I head out, I want to say one more thing. If you have not seen the documentary called The Corporation, go look at it. It's free on YouTube. It came out about 20 years ago. I think it came out in 2003. It is the best expose of how corporations abuse workers and abuse the public that I have ever seen. And somebody earlier said, they corporations, we were talking about Norfolk Southern and the East Palestine train wreck, that they will write fines into their bottom line, whether it's, for whatever they poison, whatever they abuse, they will write that into their bottom line. If they are they are making cost of doing business. They will push anything into an externality where they don't have to pay it. And people really need to wake up to this. That our corporate controlled system is willing to abuse and anybody and anything so that they can make a buck. They have set the planet on fire.
Literally. It's not a metaphor. It's on fire.
They are thieves. They are thieves, and they are destroyers of the environment.
They don't care that they're killing family members, and people have funerals, and families are broken up.
Yep, it's true.
But that's why we got to get you guys in office. Thank you again, Jason. And
Jason, good to see you, buddy.
Okay, we'll catch up soon. Thank you.
All right, we had spoke about it that we were going to go on a little bit longer, just kind of, round out some of the ideas that we talked about with union rights. I do need to give a shout out just in the messages on the way by to the Teamsters Local 177. They say they stand in solidarity and in solidarity with the Screen Actors and Writers Strike this week. So just wanted to give a shout out. Thank you. We actually have quite a few postings. I will go through them all and give shout outs and repost to everybody that I can. Union rights and workers' rights aren't synonymous. And, we'd like them to be. Mm-hmm. And I think some of the issues that you guys brought up from the structural issues inside of unions, leadership, money, power, corruption, the things that happen in large organizations. But workers' rights and unions' rights are not synonymous, right? Regardless on whether both of you, get into, push union rights or codifying union rights, that doesn't mean you can't pass policies to protect workers separately from that. Especially when we see, and I don't want to use this metaphor, but you see the train coming down the tracks, right? You see child labor. You see them rolling back, safety regulations. You see them, denying the ability for workers to sue their employer out of accidents. You see the problems that are stacking up. Yes, unions would help in, if those things don't go right, we can strike. We can use our power as a group to do it. But there's some real power in politicians passing legislation specifically to protect workers, right? Not bundled up into a whole bunch of other crap, not whatever, but legislation specifically to help workers.
And I totally agree with that, because it's not just my line of work. It's many other lines of work, like whether you work in a restaurant or you work in a doctor's office. We need to protect workers if they need to be able to say, hey, I can't do this work. It doesn't mean I'm not an efficient worker, but right now I want rather focus on this topic. Or, I'm going to bring up COVID because I worked in a hospital. With some of the deaths, sometimes it became overwhelming, and with the amount of hospitals always being filled and people being lined up at the door working on medical detox trying to get in, and there's limited beds. Sometimes I wanted to call out a lot of the times, but I could not call out for fear of losing my job.
And I know David can probably speak to something very similar. I've seen other soldiers that have seen heavy combat that you and I could not imagine. Things that you and I could not imagine. We can talk about them. We can, kind of in a third party, but we can't put words to the nightmares that they saw. And I saw that same look in nurses' eyes. I saw that same look. It's beyond despair. Where you're continuing because it's a duty, right? But it's breaking you. Like, you realize it's, you're going to survive this battle, you're going to survive this whatever, right? But you died that day, right? And you saw that same look on their faces. And for all of the talk of essential workers and they left our nurses and doctors to the wolves. They did not care. The PPE never came. It never came.
And when it did come, we had to hoard it, and we were fighting amongst departments over PPE, and it was just so ridiculous.
but you look by and you're like, okay, you've got warehouses full of bombs
Oh
that got
yeah.
illegal 20 years ago. You've got just warehouses full of bullets and rocket launchers and all of this. You don't have a warehouse full of PPE, so that if something happens, we have the supplies. You never thought of that?
No, they didn't care.
FEMA buys, every year they buy something like 5 or 6 million rounds of 5.56 ammo, right? You bought 5 million rounds of 5.56 ammo, and you forgot to buy face masks. You forgot to buy gloves. You forgot to get oxygen machines. You bought bullets instead, right? And that's that mindset that I saw all of the people that they came out and gave speeches about being essential and the most important. It was all
really
bullshit.
was.
It was.
It really was. And I never, during that time, I think that was one of the darkest times of my life. And there was no one to talk to but my coworker. I had 2 coworkers, and the dark humor, the things that like we used to cope. I never thought I would have that kind of stuff to cope, but I wanted to leave, and I love helping people because my goal is I never want anyone to have the pain or suffering I went through. So I started this journey, but I want to make sure I can heal. I want to make sure I can help. I want to make sure I can prevent, because no one deserves to go through any sort of pain. And that time in the hospital, I did not want to help anymore because I did not see anything. It was not.
The nursing industry specifically has dropped horribly because everybody saw, like, when push came to shove, they really didn't care about them, and nurses, like, they did. They're like, I'm not doing this anymore.
They didn't.
One thing about the essential workers, those people who had to work on the front lines, finally they got some extra money. Remember when they finally got some extra cash in their paycheck?
We never got it.
They weren't getting paid for it.
We never got it.
They weren't getting paid for it. And, and when they did get it, 6 months after they got it, what happens? The Fed raises the interest rates and tears away everything that they work for, everything they put their lives on the line for.
While
we never got any raises.
Extra pocket money, they were launching themselves into the stratosphere for fun. They had so much, and everybody was like cheering and clapping while they were doing it.
Yeah.
Like I knew we were fucked when in the middle of a pandemic, the rich had so much money that they were launching themselves into space. And I knew at that moment we are fucked.
Yeah.
That's why we have to fight. That's why we have to fight. There are too many people who suffered during the pandemic. I was diagnosed with COVID this past week. Okay, I wasn't feeling too hot, so I went. And what I do, I go in there, and the next morning I wake up and I'm perfectly fine. Total recovery.
I'm so happy.
But during that time, the following day, we had a heart attack. One of the veterans there on my floor had a double heart attack, and he passed away. And during that time, you could see the sadness in the staff and their eyes, that they couldn't save him, that they tried so hard. They said, David, we've got an emergency down here, in the ward, it's all right. Don't worry about me. Go take care of my brother. And they said, thank you. I mean, they were happy that I was putting my brother that I didn't even know first, so that they could do their work without thinking about me. And we don't have that anymore, so much in our healthcare. And we've talked about healthcare for all, Medicare for all. And I'm a firm believer of Medicare for all. The Veterans Administration, they are the template for our healthcare system. And they said, it is, David. We are the best in the world. Yes, you are. You guys saved my life 3 times. I believe in healthcare for all. And I believe that unions, and that's a strong union at that hospital too. That's a very strong.
What the name of the union for the VA is?
I've got it in my notes. Forgive me.
I know we've talked about them before. I know we've talked about them before.
Yes. But yes, they said, we can't support you, David. But I said, well, listen, you don't have to support me. Let me support you.
I like that response.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, well, it's because kind of, and I would, I know Jason had to take off, but kind of the opposite of what that dynamic was before. And it was something David and I had talked about before. A lot of politicians will go, and it's constantly for this, I want your endorsement, I need your endorsement, I need your endorsement. But you're supposed to be working for them, right? It's the opposite. Shouldn't you should be endorsing them. If you like what they're doing, if you like what they're doing, shouldn't you be endorsing them? Why would they be endorsing you?
You would think.
Yeah.
You would think
Right?
that you want to
Doesn't
be.
make any sense.
You would think.
But as we look around us, it seems like every week, and I mean now they really are starting to build up on each other, right? This was the first time that the Writers Guild and the Actors Guild have both been on strike since like the 50s. Marilyn Monroe was
Yeah,
was
I think
still active
it's what,
last
60,
time that
70
happened.
years? 70 years now? 70
So
years?
I mean, but that's not I support everything that you guys know. You guys have both seen. I post constantly. If it has to do with unions and strikes and all of that. Support everything that's going on in the actors union, but I also would like people to take note. Those actors, those same, especially the actors, they have the platforms. They need to be speaking out for all of the people that are speaking out for them now.
I totally agree with that.
All of the people, right? When this is all over and UPS is having a strike, you need to be there supporting them, right? When it comes out and Starbucks is having a thing, don't stay silent, because we didn't stay silent when they came for you.
No, yeah.
Right? I'm not because I support it. I don't want to bring that negativity into it, but just realize that when this is all over, return the favor. They have the biggest platforms, right? People listen to them. Brad Pitt or what? Who was it that Matt Damon came out and said something about the SAG strike, and it is on every single front page, right, shared over and over and over again. When it's all done, Matt, you support the people that stood up for you. Right?
Yeah.
I just kind of want to throw that out there.
Yeah. And one of the things that I read that kind of scares me with the strike, and I really support them, is they want to use AI images and take people's faces. And that is the most terrifying thing, because they could create a face that's similar to somebody famous, and there was a Black Mirror episode on it, and they can make them do things that they would never agree to do.
Well, and I mean, they want to pretty much cut them out altogether. So, I mean, the same way that, they screwed over, Black musicians back in the day, right?
Yeah.
You don't own your name. You don't own your music. You don't own your movies, right? Matt Damon doesn't own any. He's not he wasn't in Mars, right? They own all of that. You're just a puppet there. And they're saying that because they own that name, that person, your entire persona, that they can make you do anything they want with AI, and then use AI script writers to write the script for it. Completely cut humans out of it and not give you anything in return either. Where it's like, look, fine, you use my likeness to do whatever, you better for sure pay me for it. They're not even going to do that.
No. And the one thing AI doesn't have is heart and soul and passion.
Well, and you see the difference in right now in the comedy, especially comedy, because it seems to be the first thing that you notice the writers strike in, right? Because comedy isn't something that you can put into AI. Political speech, right? A lot of because they're cookie cutter, they're copy and paste, right? Every politician out there right now on the Democratic and Republican side is dang near saying the exact same thing every day. Almost no difference. AI can repeat that nonstop. In fact, I imagine they are using it. With comedy, right? With comedy, the words might be funny. The situation might be funny. When you look at memes sometimes that are hilarious, at face value, they have absolutely nothing to do with what's going on, right? Imagine the "is it though" Thor response will have nothing to do with what's going on, but be hilarious. And humans in comedy, AI has not been able to reproduce that in any meaningful form. When you type in "tell me a joke," it ain't funny because AI just doesn't get it. And you can see the times where they've attempted to use it, and you're all like, yeah, it has all the parts of a joke, but I don't think a person wrote this.
Yeah, because it's missing the heart and soul.
Yeah, and you can see with comedy, you can still it still doesn't cross, it still crosses that uncanny valley where you still recognize that all the parts are here. This should be funny, but it's not. It's missing the heart and soul, the actual humanity behind it. But an absolute nightmare, and although we can't pretend like actors don't have a good deal. All right, like that's not, y'all are doing real well.
No, not all actors though. Like we're talking about A-list, but there are some actors that haven't reached that top tier status that are working day out and day in to try and just be recognized and noticed.
100%. 100%.
I'd like to say one thing. There is no way an A1 individual could ever duplicate what I have done in the theater. Okay.
I don't think in the end, well, I don't know. I think in the end, like all other things, there will probably be great AI actors.
There may be,
once that goes,
but not one that can duplicate what Strider has done.
Oh no! There's never going to be a machine, because it's AI, and that's part of it too.
And this strike, I think, is going to lead to a good thing because we're all standing in solidarity. But this is going to lead down to the music industry because they created an AI generated rapper that they.
And there's some AI models that are around. Yeah. There's some of those things are going to happen.
But
they've played around with have you ever noticed like a lot of why we remix songs and reuse the same melodies all over,
okay.
Even though the range of sounds that you could make is millions and millions of different combinations, but the human ear only really likes a certain range of certain sounds. Humans like that range. It's it's pleasant. It would be different for whales or dogs, right? But in those ranges, that's why we see those repeating all the time, why chords repeat, because they're ones that are pleasing to the human ear. AI has been used for beats, for other things for quite a while, and I don't think people even realized it was going on.
Probably so.
And the artists and then the artists that perform over these lyrics, they get paid not even pennies per stream, per listen.
Well, and there's times when you saw some of the outrage with autotune.
Yeah.
Right, which was another use of AI.
Yeah.
And not really thought of it that way, but you took artists and then you get them where they were actually singing, and you're like, wow, you suck. But your look made money. Right? They could run you through auto-tune and you were the best singer in the world, but none of it was real. It was just the persona. And now we've moved to, well, why do we even need the persona?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? But the key to all of that is putting in policies that keep artists from being screwed over. If you want to use their face, you need to get their permission, and you need to pay them. That's it.
And if you want, I think music artists need to be able to get paid more per stream.
Well, now they don't. At the moment, they don't even like. Some artists have gotten way better. No Limit and some of those other music industries in Louisiana and the South have done really, really good at making sure that artists control their own money. Their records, right? Their investments, like that it's actually in their name and they're not beholden to these records.
So what I'm saying is like DistroKid, you are in charge of everything, and you're an independent artist, but your music is going to be streamed on Apple, Google Play, YouTube, and each one of those brackets, if you look up how much they're getting paid, and I want to say Spotify, they all get paid 0.0001, 0.001. Like they're not even getting paid one full penny per stream with these streaming services,
which was similar to what they were getting with the points that record companies
use.
So like when you hear them, they like artists didn't get paid dollar to dollar. You sold 1 billion records, you should have 1 billion records, you should have $1 million. The artist gets paid points on those records, and then there's all sorts of caveats inside of it as well, so you don't even get like the full points most of the time. the whole system has always been set up to screw over the artist, right? And now as the new technology comes in, they're still set up to screw over the artist. And some of it is because we've never took the time to write policy, right? We've never taken the time to write laws that protect artists, that protect
And I'm going to write those policies and laws, because without artists, I wouldn't have my posters, I wouldn't have my music, I wouldn't have what gives me motivation and gives me hope and inspires me every single day. I wouldn't have my TV shows or my video games. I wouldn't have any of that stuff.
Well, and the point is not to, the point of AI is not to replace human art, is not to replace, it's to allow us to do those things even better,
Yeah.
right? If right, that's the point of having them. It's not to replace it. I think it's the people that are using it that's the problem. It's just another tool, but without regulation, the people that are using it are evil, have arguably always been pretty evil.
Oh yeah,
Right? The record
1000% evil.
So
I don't know anyone
the
that's
fact-
good there. I like Tyler the Creator. I would say he's
there's lots of good artists. There's not very many good
Yeah.
examples. Right, that's the way it is. I can name plenty of good artists. We're not hurting for great artists. Right, we've had some of the most greatest movies, some of the most talented musicians. It's a good time to be watching entertainment.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, there is from sci-fi to dramas to, modern westerns. There's all sorts of really awesome stuff on, and that all has to do with writers. That all has to do with actors. It's a great time for entertainment, but the top of that industry are still complete assholes.
Yeah, pure evil. No regulations at all, and they get away with what they.
What was their statement to the Writers Guild? We'll starve them out.
Yeah, wait until they lose their apartments.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
But that's when, the Film Actors Guild, right? Again, that's what I meant. Some of them are doing pretty well. So you guys got your shit together and rent an apartment for those writers, right? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I got a question. How much about us do we know about the foreign involvement in our movie industry, in our entertainment industry? How much do we know about foreign involvement into our entertainment industry?
As in, like, movies made for foreign audiences?
Movies made here with American actors and placed into our theaters and on our cable networks.
I know there's a lot of censorship in different countries.
Yeah,
and
I
some
know
of
they
these would
pretty
get
openly,
banned.
like, if China says, hey, we don't want, this or that, then they'll send the movie over there without it. I mean, look, the military-industrial complex controls our Hollywood, right? If you're looking for an inside person, manipulating our movie industry with bad intentions, they've openly done that pretty much since we've had an entertainment industry.
And then
That's true.
so I'm Egyptian. I'm gonna shame the government over there, and for them to even they were trying to block the docu-series on Cleopatra just because it was a black actress. And it drove me crazy because I'm like, there's black Egyptians. And two, no one knows what she really looked like. Three, if you want to have whatever image, we know that this is a TV show. Common sense is going to tell you there are so many shows where we've had the wrong representation of Arab people. We've had so many Arab stars and so many Arab stories told by white people, whitewashed, and you didn't complain about that stuff. So what's the problem with having the black actress representing a character? So and they sued Netflix.
Sometimes I do feel like there's this weird move to virtue signal for things that, you kind of saw it with the Ariel thing, and
that drove me crazy.
Mermaid's fine one way or another. My kids are all grown. When my daughter was little, I would have loved to take her to the Little Mermaid, but my kids are all grown. I don't argue about the Little Mermaid one way or another. At some point, you have to sit back and think, I'm a 50-year-old man sitting online arguing about the Little Mermaid. You need to reevaluate your life,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I think
and they
so.
go
I
from
think
like
so.
one weird obsession, like, you know, you're now triggered by the Skittles bag because you're put, like, it's just one nonstop weird obsession over crap that seems so meaningless for like grown people.
It really is, and we need to put the focus on more serious things
Yeah.
like the housing
And
crisis, the union strike. The unions need to be more placed everywhere. We also need to be able to lower inflation on food, make more affordable housing. There's so many universal health care, so many more important things to focus on.
There was a thing
so
yesterday
true.
with inflation and
So very
milk.
true.
There is the farmers are now, like, there's an excess of milk. Farmers are now having to like destroy, just, you know, dump it down the drain with, I mean, millions and millions of gallons of this milk because they're making it, and there's an oversupply. But the price of milk keeps on skyrocketing.
We have so many people at the border trying to get into this nation. You know, they're being turned away. Why can't we send that milk down there to them as a humanitarian?
Well, I mean,
Why can't we do that?
We've talked about billionaires nonstop. It was only supposed to cost $6 billion to end child hunger globally, right? Global hunger worldwide was only supposed to cost $6 billion. We're up to something at, like, you know, $600-700 billion in Ukraine alone. That doesn't even count the other crap everywhere. I read a study once, and it said that the U.S. farmers, right, just the U.S. farmers, not the rest of the world's food combined, but just the breadbasket, you know, of the U.S., creates enough food to feed the world's population 3 times over, right?
Wow.
Now, I mean, that means our farmers are kicking ass, right? U.S. farmers are growing, you know, with they're not, I'm not into the corporate farming industry, but they're obviously making so much milk. We've got an oversupply of millions of gallons. The U.S. farmer is killing it. They've made enough food to feed the world 3 times over every year. One time you could say maybe that's a bad supply line. 2 times over you could say maybe that's just greed. Americans are just being fat and greedy. 3 times over, that's on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I grew up waste not, want not, and had to see all that milk being destroyed, to see what their fruits of their labor is nothing being but poured down the drain. I mean, I raised waste not, want not. If I don't waste it, I don't want it. You know, I'm not going to want it later.
Well, I mean, look,
I'm not going to need it
there's
later.
a lack of, and it's one of the reasons the people we have in charge most of the time have no experience in the real world, right?
No, they don't. And they really don't.
Because of that, they don't think in the real world. If you went to your average logistician, right, guy that pretty much, you know, moves freight all around the country and all of that, if you came up to him and you said, hey, you know, we've got schools without school lunch funding and all of that stuff, what do you think we should do with all of these millions of gallons of milk? Right? He'd be able to distribute that milk, right, to all of those schools. If you go to a lawyer and ask him to do it, he has no idea what the fuck to do with it. And that's the situation that we're in. Right?
That's why it's going to take people like us to stand up.
We bring common sense back into politics by electing new leaders.
Absolutely.
Christina H. Salas, my sweetness, says hi. She says she has many clients experiencing homelessness who can't go to the food bank because they don't have an established address. They would love some milk. And I know you also work. H. Salas. I don't want to use her first name here, but and get her in trouble. But she works with the county, helping people get into to houses, get food and all of it, like all of those services, and is a social worker. And it's insane to see how little help they get.
Oh yeah, I'm a social worker too, H. Salas.
Almost nothing. She'll talk to me, and I mean, you'll be like, but you're working with the county, right? Well, yeah. And I give, you know, I'm not giving an example of numbers, but let's say they have a meeting and they say, all right, we've got 5 people without 5 people that have families, couples that have families and kids without homes. And never in those meetings do they ever say, well, let's put them in 5 homes. Problem solved. Right?
Yeah.
No longer have, right? If you've got, they've got a bank in town, the county never goes to the bank and said, hey, you've got 5 distressed properties. Sell them to me for pennies on the dollar. Right? And now they're off of your books. Win-win. And we've got them, but they never say, let's put a homeless family into a home. That equation just never seems to happen. And you can put it.
Those distressed properties, you got so many people who have skills on construction and remodeling and et cetera, and they can't work because they have no place to call home.
Well, she's saying
but if you
just that, like they can't even, you want to get a job, you want to apply for the jobs program, you want to get any of these services, you can't because you don't have a home address.
Exactly.
And they require a home address. You got to have a home address to even get, they'll ask them, oh, bring in a bill, a piece of mail that you have so you can get a driver's license. I'm homeless.
Yeah, they have these barriers designed on purpose, and I'm sure HSAL is also aware, because they don't want to actually provide the funding, so they create these barriers to make it very hard for the people that actually need the support to obtain it, which creates the entire gap and just pushes people further into property. So one of the policies I'm working on is we have so many empty houses, empty apartment complexes. We really do not have a housing crisis in the essence of where we need to keep developing complexes. There would be a true housing crisis if every house and apartment was filled with human beings in the entire country. Then we start developing more. The housing crisis is they're purposely creating and forcing these new complexes to come in under pilot programs, but then utilizing gentrification to push these certain populations out. Now we're going back into redlining and segregation where we only want towns to look a certain way. And if you can't afford this rent, even though you're working, you don't deserve a home if you're not working that hard to afford this rent or this mortgage or anything. And then even if you're paying your rent for like 10 years, you still don't qualify for a mortgage. So we need to I'm going to be making, and I'm sure David's on board too, housing access much easier to being able to own a home as a first generation within the entire family, to be able to get into an apartment, to put caps on things. But it's such a challenge, even in my line of where I work right now, when I deal with families like that in my part-time job, sometimes I'm not sure what to do. So I always would, sometimes I don't have answers, even with my resources. Sometimes we luck out where a friend says, just use my address, or a shelter would say, even though you're not like in Newark, New Jersey, there's a shelter. Maybe I shouldn't have said the town because they're really not supposed to do this. That even if you're not there,
you get magic sometimes. Like it's, I don't know how y'all do it, but the amount of times that they get in that everybody has told them no, you can't. They're not going to get you a house. You need this and that. Like it's absolute magic. But under it, like it makes me angry. It makes me sad. I don't always have the right words because the social workers want to do it. They know the things that need to be done. People need houses. We have the houses. I can see the houses, but it just never gets to be and never actually happens. They never get around to taking the family that's living in their minivan and putting them in a house.
Yeah. And then DCP&P comes in because you can't afford a house or an apartment, and they take your kids away, and it becomes this entire vicious cycle that instead of helping human beings, we want to, this country, our elected leaders they're gunning just to harm families, gunning to separate them.
Yeah, that's like, I'm not saying that.
Taking those children away is so close, because some of those children don't get reunited, just like the children that came across the border. They don't get reunited with their families. And so what do we have? We have a bunch of new kids that are stuck in the trafficking ring.
Well, I mean, some of it is that's where their money's made. Like, I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but a lot of it is.
But we have to be. It's the reality of it.
The homeless problem, a lot of it, they don't want to fix it. Why would you fix it if you're sitting on a board, right, and you're making $2 million to talk about homelessness? Why would you ever fix it? right?
Yeah.
Never in their minds do they walk in. Like I said, I'm not, that's not like a parable, right? Walk into the bank and they've got a list of distressed properties. You make $2 million sitting on a board, right? Walk into the bank and say, I got $2 million. How many houses can you give me for that?
And on top of it, if they need to get fixed up, and this is the beauty of the communities that I live in, if our elected officials bought houses but said, hey, we only have enough money to buy houses, the community would come together. The skilled workers would do it for free so we can house people.
Oh, there's people that are homeless that would do it.
Yeah.
Yes. So true.
We have sorry, H. Salas again was kind of to bring us back to unions and some of the union rights. She says childcare for her is over $100 more than her rent for one child.
Oh, that just drives me crazy. That drives because
that's not right. That is not right. That is not right.
That's just a natural this is what drives me crazy. We are declining in a population, and we have people that say you have to have more children, you have to have more children. And I say, this is my take, and I guess I'll be that guy now. The Democrats force, as well as the Republicans, but the Democrats, even though they say that they're pro-choice, they force abortion on so many women, and they force adoption on so many women. And the reason I'm saying that is because when a person now takes a pregnancy test, it's not joy, it's fear if it's positive, even though they want that child. And it's the cost of living, the cost of childcare, the cost of food. Can I afford this? My job's going to terminate me. There's no protection. There's nothing in place to sustain a family or even have the person enjoy the development of the child or enjoy your child's first year. And it just drives me crazy with that. I'm going to be creating policies, and I fight for it currently right now to help as many women and families as possible when it comes to advocating. And childcare should not be a consequence for having kids, because we need the kids to grow up, to run the future, to run this country.
So the child tax credit, did so much. One of the reasons that we're facing inflation the way that we are is what happens when you bring millions of people out of poverty, and the market adjusts for that. People open up new businesses, right? You're able to buy more stuff. You're able to buy more food. All of the things that come with having that, being out of poverty, right? The economy adjusts for it, and then we had a president that took all of those things away, and now you can't afford any of the goods. If you were still getting $1,200 per kid, right? $1,500. Even though he promised us $2,200, just throwing it out there. We wouldn't be having a problem with inflation, but they had to get rid of that child tax credit so bad, and now they don't say the other side of it. They always flaunt, we brought millions of people out of poverty with the child tax credit, but then they leave the part that you took it away. You put all of those people.
I want to bring up, even with child tax credit, that money should be used for whatever household items. So like here in New Jersey and a lot of places, we've been advocating and fighting where pre-K is free now. So that should just be a universal thing. And I don't know where H lives, what state.
I'll let her put it out, because I don't want to, like I said, I don't say with some of the issues that we have with other people that are working and running for office. I don't want to get her in. I don't want to get her in trouble.
Because I'll just say,
it's a purple state. It's a purple state.
So with the child tax credit, like if your kid, we have co-payments because we don't have universal health care, or if your kid needs braces, or if your kids are growing so fast, your kids are always going to need new clothes and shoes, and you have to focus on wanting healthy food. And then there's after school programs. So the child tax credit goes a long way just for daily living. That when it comes to childcare, that's something we should be just taking care of within the country.
Oh, yeah, and I will give,
yes, absolutely.
My father worked on a program, I guess, for, I think it was the UW system. a year ago, and now the UW system will provide free healthcare or free childcare to anybody, to any of the students that have children there, which I think is a big step.
Yeah.
Right. But again, I grew up in Europe, and Germany had all the way to there. I don't know if it's ended now or not, but all the way they had Kindergeld. After the war, their population was so devastated that to rebuild it, they paid you for having kids, Kindergeld. So for every kid, you got a child tax credit, $1,500 a month. But because of that, their view of mothers, of you're doing, like you were being what it should be, producing the next generation of doctors, of scientists, of humans, is the most awesome thing that you can possibly do. And they were treated like that. In America, having a kid is like the worst thing that you could possibly do. Like the exact opposite. You're absolutely hated for it. I know that H. Salas here had put pro-birth, not pro-life, and I think that's it. Like once you have a baby, they hate you.
Yeah.
It's not just that they're not on your side or that they don't want to help you or whatever. They hate you, which is so
because like in my many years of working in this field, that was the one thing where I would have to sit with a whole bunch of women, and they would want the kid, and they would just be like so heartbroken, so devastated, just couldn't stop crying, and they felt the country forced them to get an abortion. And it's just,
there's no
it breaks my heart just even seeing it, because I'm thinking about all the girls that just cried in front of me.
Well, I mean, in that you walk in, and it's not like I said, it's the cultural part of it that really hurts, because you have somebody that walks in, they need a little bit of help, they're going to school, they're doing their thing, they're working, they just need WIC, right? But because society hates them so much, they're embarrassed to even do that. Right, they're embarrassed to go to the office. They're embarrassed to go to the thing, because everybody in the office is gonna look down on you. Right, took something, rather than it be that the reason that the community has these services is that we came together to support you. We want you to do well. We want you to have childcare. We want your kids to do well. We want you to go to school. Right, all of those things continue your job, but it doesn't come off that way at all in reality.
And
where's Daddy? My question is, where's Daddy? Where's Daddy? Where's Daddy helping that mother and that child?
It's part of.
I have 13 grandkids. Okay,
so
I have 4.
I'm not going the way the system's designed, because as a social worker, we have to look at all different layers. And are there deadbeats? Yes, where they have the money and they're just choosing not to do it. But are they incarcerated for dumb stuff like marijuana and they can't take care of their kids? Yes, that's another issue we have to look at, where they just don't have the ability to be the father that they want to be, because the system prevents them from being the father that they want to be, and they make up everything to arrest them. So then they're on their own. These women are on their own with these children, and the entire system needs to be.
I was a single dad of 3, right? I never asked, where's the mom?
We just need to make sure that the laws are changed so that families are not broken up because of a cannabis or a marijuana charge.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of reasons why, like, a father might not be in the picture, but just because a father is not in the picture, what does that have to do with having a social safety net, would be my question.
Yeah.
We need that social safety net. If the father was put in incarcerated, we need to make sure that the mother and child are taken care of. Don't tell me that we have to have that child, that you're not going to be able to have an abortion. That if you do, you're going to go to prison because you had an abortion. No, the mother needs that support from the time she finds out she's pregnant and discovers that the father isn't going to be around because he's incarcerated. The state, you want that child born, then the state needs to make sure that child is taken care of all the way through high school, grade 12, period.
Yeah.
Those things I think is where it's really important, how marriage structure works and all of that. I mean, look, it just might be most marriages end in divorce because people get married way too young for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Right. So look, at the end of the day, it was just your boyfriend, but you still want a baby. 19 years old.
Wanting a baby, and
like it's not that the father's around, not around. That's just not what the plan was in. Doesn't mean that her life should be destroyed.
Yeah.
That's right.
Also,
It shouldn't
not
be.
my business one way or
And
another.
I just want to, the unions in New Jersey, we do have childcare in place with our unions, so that it covers after school. But I also want to implement, besides, because even the hour structure where you have to drop your kid off and then pick your kid up, there's also challenges there, and I want to add and create more funding for after school programs, so that way parents can work late and not have to worry about running home. They want to, if they're just like, I want to get these documents fixed up, or if they're like, I want to go and run to a store afterwards, their kids are in an after school program, whether it's a sport, whether it's tutoring, whether it's whatever it is, they're being monitored in a healthy and safe environment, and it's something that's going to be conducive to their development and help their upbringing, and the parents get that extra okay in between work where they pick up their kid. Because sometimes some of the daycares here, they close at 4, but their jobs don't get out until 5. So that every day it's a challenge for them to find someone. A lot of times they have to let the job go because they can't always find someone to help them with their kid. And the bosses are just like, we don't care. I had someone call me up in tears and angry because their boss said, I don't give an S. I don't know if I can curse. I don't give an S about you or your 2 kids. You need to stay until 6 o'clock. I don't care about your kids. They're not my problem. And she was like, I have to pay for my rent. I have to pay for this. I don't know what to do. And I felt helpless because I'm just like, I want to go and yell at this guy. Who is he to say he doesn't care about your kids? I care about your kids. They're not my kids, but I care about your kids. He shouldn't be down talking you or your kids. But I'm just like, I don't know what to do, and I understand you're trapped in the situation.
That's when it's time to go and talk to your union rep. That's why you have unions. That's why you have a union.
And they didn't have a union. They did not have a union.
Makes a phone call, and when you have a good, strong union, that fixes itself, and he would not be the first boss that is all pissed off because the union rep called and breathed down his neck, and now he has to do something he don't want.
Yeah.
Something that we have here, something that Christine, you might like this here. Here at the VA at American Lakes, we have childcare.
Yeah.
The parents can bring their kids in. The parents can bring their kids in to work with them, drop them off at the center where they got childcare until they get off work.
And they used to have that in colleges in New Jersey and a lot of jobs in New Jersey. And this was before or a little bit after when I was born. They started closing them down. So this used to be a family state, and then they just didn't care about families anymore.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, I think Salas brings up a real a point that most Americans are feeling right now. And she goes, I work 2 jobs. She does the second job when her son's sleeping because the first job's already a 50-hour-a-week job.
Yeah, and that's where we need to do.
That second job, the way I understand it here, that second job is basically just to cover childcare.
Yeah, and this is where we need to really change the policies, and we need to create limits on rent and mortgages where we're not going past a certain threshold, and we have to even raise the welfare to close that gap of poverty to financial stability. And the reason I'm saying that is because you need to be home with your kids, and if you're raising a child, 1 full-time job is more than enough. You should not be, honest to God, I swear, you shouldn't. And as from one social worker to another, you know that the development of a child really is impacted by the caregiver in the home. So you can't be exhausted all the time while raising the kid, and you're not able to focus, and you're doing the best that you can in your situation. But we can make it easier for you. It does not have to be that way, and I don't want it to be that way because I go out there and I see these families every day, and it shouldn't be that hard. Because before I was born, it wasn't that hard for so many people. You hear the stories. I was able to work a part-time job and pay rent and blah 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 blah. I was able to work a full-time job and buy a house.
Yeah, part-time, or one parent worked.
Worked
a single job, had a 3-bedroom house. We're kind of getting close to our 2 hour. I kind of like to keep it most of the time in our 2 hour limit. Just like I did with Jason, I'd like to give you guys, each of you, whoever wants to go first, but 5 minutes of just you focused on your views on unions, union policies, workers' rights. I'm going to close down the other screen so it's just you and you're able to give your voters and constituents a kind of direct message before we close up here.
I think Christine should go first. She let me go first at the start of the show. I think she should help close out the show.
Okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, and that just gives you, like I said, take 5 minutes and just kind of give, and your voters, speaking directly to them, for the people that we have watching, for Salas, for people that are looking for something real. Don't want to say the word new for our candidates here, right? But for something that's real in their candidates. And just like I said, take that time to speak directly to them. It's all yours.
Right. Hey everyone, it's Christina Khalil. You can visit my website, ChristinaKhalil4NewJersey.com. I'm running for United States Senate on a federal level, so I can make implemented change across the country, not just in New Jersey. And I am someone that has always been fighting for the people. I am passionate. I would never let you down. And if something is not able to come through, I will be able to explain why. And it's not on my end. It's because people have created barriers. I believe in unions. We need to have unions to protect families, protect individuals, and we need to keep our citizens who run this country safe. And without the citizens, there would be no America. There would be no country. And I can't do this without you guys. Thank you.
Awesome. And I just, like with every, I'm hoping that you'll come on as one of our regulars, like Dave does. Just so I'm not on here, just grilling some poor candidate. But I'd like to give each of you guys a real opportunity without the host, without the extra stuff going on of each show, to talk directly to your voters. And I think Dave, you're up, and kind of the same thing, just kind of as much time as you really need, but so that you can talk directly. And I think the issue we're talking about today is unions, but so that you personally can get that face to face with your constituents.
Okay.
So the floor is yours, brother.
Thank you. Dave Strider here, your candidate for U.S. Senate here in the state of Washington. I am an independent, and I truly and completely encourage everyone to think about their unions. The unions have done great things for this nation. They gave you your 40-hour week. They gave us vacation time. They gave us sick time. And then sometimes vacation as well. Unions have been the backbone of this nation ever since they began. When they fought in the streets, and many of them died, to get union rights out there so that people would have a chance at a better life. And now they want to take some of that away from us. That's why, as your candidate for U.S. Senate, I will protect those rights with the union workers out there. And I encourage you to also reach out and support your local union worker as well. They need you. They want you to see them. They want you to know the work that they do. And that goes from theater all the way to medical fields. We have unions protecting our people as we move about each and every day. Thank you for listening. And if there's any questions, you can reach me at davidstrider4senate.com.
Awesome. Yeah, thank both of you so much for joining. It's so important, whether you agree with them, whether you don't agree with them, to get real voices out there. As I said in the opening, America, and really the world, is looking for change. We all see it. We know that our leaders need to change. We know this is right. We might argue about how we're getting there, but we can all feel that something is very, very, very wrong. When we look at the corruption, when we look at the fight against unions, when we look at the fight for clean water, doesn't matter where you are in the country, what color your skin is, what religion you are, right? Chances are your water is poisoned and theirs is not.
Yeah.
How we got there is more than obvious. We have to put people in office that stand with their constituents, that stand with their voters, that don't fill us with empty rhetoric. If you've heard each and every one of these candidates come on, and other candidates that I've had come on talk about unions, look at how different that is to the standard rhetoric that you hear on social media, the standard rhetoric that you hear on MSNBC and CNN. Everyone from Ted Cruz to Biden comes out and says, I support unions. And none of them do. None of them do. These candidates actually support unions, have been involved in unions, and care enough about unions and the workers to call out unions' bad behavior as well. And that's the kind of person that we need in office. Not just someone that says the words, and not just somebody that constantly praises them, but knows what we need and knows what we need to provide for their constituents, knows what they need to provide for their workers. It's not hard. It's not hidden. We know it. We have all of American history to prove what we need protections and why we need protections for our workers. So I urge everyone, I'm not telling you who to vote for, right? I'm not telling you to vote green. I'm not telling you to vote for independent. I am telling you to research your own candidates. Look at their policies, look at their voting records, look at what they've actually done, and look at what they're saying to you. Right? If they're not checking those things off the list, you don't have to play ball. You don't have to vote for people that don't have your best interests in mind. You don't have to. We have options. There is an alternative. And the Green Party and independent candidates are that other option. Right? It's time that we stop voting for the lesser of two evils and start voting for the greater good. So yeah, I'm going to kind of wrap it up. I don't know if either one of you guys has. Getting a lot of extra sunlight here. There we go. It's like a beam of light coming in, right?
Didn't mean to get you on shade, you know.
But if there's anything that you guys need to say, I know both of you have websites and donation campaigns going. Make sure to give the audience both of those. Christina, real quick, if you want to give yours.
I gave my website. It's ChristinaCoolio4NewJersey.com. And I just want to remind everyone, I'm running federally, so I can help the entire country and internationally, not just statewide. I'm going to be changing up the donation link because I was a Democrat candidate. Now I'm switching to Green Party, so it's going to go tomorrow, changing from Act Blue to a different. So if you do donate, give me a few days before you donate, because I just don't want Act Blue to get any money.
It's going to bad people.
Just give me a couple days, guys.
And just keep up on our website. I try to repost stuff. If there's candidates that just stay part of being, I don't want to harp on this, but part of being an American is being politically connected. That is not the case for every country, right? But part of being an American citizen is being informed, is researching your candidate. That's part of being an American voter. Anybody that tells you different is not looking through U.S. history and not looking for what our founding fathers wanted us. They wanted you to be informed. Yeah. They wanted you to use your vote as power. That's why they gave it to you. Maybe not everybody I would have liked that they gave it at the beginning, but where we are now, that's the power they intended.
Can I give a shout out to H? Yes, H. Alice. Yeah, I am fighting so that way you can get mani pedis every other week if you'd like, and a spa day once a month because you deserve it.
She does. Yeah. She does. She's beautiful and she deserves
tacos. Yes. Tacos are always good. If you want a taco feast, get a taco feast. If you want a spa day once a month, get it. If you want a facial, I am fighting so you could afford that.
Look through U.S. history. Look through workers, and David had mentioned it before in vacation time. Leisure used to be part of the equation. People knew that worked hard, you needed that time off to recuperate, you needed that time with your family. That was something that they knew in 1950, that we've slowly but surely removed from the workers equation altogether. Now it's work 24/7, and they've left that leisure part out, where that, like, again, that used to be a huge part of our culture. You work hard, you play hard. That's the deal.
Yeah.
Right? Gonna do the same thing for you, David, if you want to give out, any funding information that you have, websites, all of that, now is the time to do it.
You can find me at David Strider for ussenate.com at your PayPal local hookup. We also have a link on our David Strider for Senate.com page with a link to that, which will take us into it. I have a hard time asking for money, but the one thing I want you to think about is think about what I've said. Think about what we've said here today. And that's what's important. And if you have questions, send me an email. I want to hear from you.
Yes. Oh, you
Thank
can
you so
email
much.
me too. You get human responses because I'm the one reading the emails.
Yeah, he says about the same thing. If you call the number, chances are he's going to be the one answering it. But that's fine.
Yeah,
It's about
I mean, that's what my answering machine says. You've reached the David Strider for U.S. Senate. If you leave your message, I may call you back. Chances are it'll be me that calls you back.
Our senators and congressmen are not kings and queens. They're not royalty. We need to get back to where they feel like they're real people. At the moment, we've got this situation where they've convinced themselves that there's something more. They're better than.
Mhm.
And I really do think we need to get back to them, to out of that ego trip where you're here to represent the people. It's not about you.
Mhm.
Where it's all about them, right? Only about them at this very moment. Just to close, for the people that are listening, we are still fundraising for the emergency solar for the Navajo Reservation, emergency solar for Puerto Rico. This is such a direct project. It's almost heartbreaking. And if you've seen now recently on Twitter, all of the jackass social media personalities are all posting how much money they're making from Elon Musk, hundreds of thousands of dollars for their new subscriptions. Imagine if we had used that money to actually help each other. We got 1,500 people on the Navajo Reservation without access to electricity. We can go out and get 1,000 solar generators and have this problem fixed by Wednesday. And actually fixed by Wednesday. Again, that's not, they're telling you that they can't take action till 2050. We're telling you we can have this fixed by Wednesday. The choice should be pretty simple, but for some reason, it's an uphill battle. As for Puerto Rico, we've got the 6 neonatal units. We just need 6 solar generators and 6 water from air systems, and we're going to set them up the exact same way. And that's before the whole hurricanes come, not after. The key to all of this is setting them up before the hurricanes get there. Every year, our government acts like they've never seen a hurricane before.
I have family members.
Right,
I have family
Every
members.
year is a surprise.
Yeah, every year they act like they've never seen them. They try to get, this rush to water bottles. Everybody's, can't get a hold of water, and then we're stuck with all of these extra, rather than just getting solar from air, water from air systems there the month before.
At least you weren't throwing paper towels, Terrence.
No, we're throwing solar generators.
Remember that?
You're going to need one of these.
Yeah.
Throwing paper
You get a
towels.
paper towel. You get a paper towel.
You get a
paper towel.
You and your team is out there busting ass for the people in the field, and we got.
So just for to see, what we were doing at the same time. So while Trump was there throwing paper towels, the roads have been washed out absolutely everywhere. Right? So the emergency services could not get to the hospitals, could not get to the field hospitals, could not get to people with disabilities. So we took a Inspire heavy lift drone by DJI drone that I had for filming at Standing Rock. And we took the 30-pound camera off of it and replaced that with a little basket. And then we flew medications into people with disabilities, anybody that need help, 24/7 sorties, right? And then we managed to move an entire solar generator. And the only piece that we had to bring up there was the battery that we managed to bring up, that we brought up on horseback. And the kid that we got it for was literally hours from dying when we got the equipment there. And they had called, U.S. government said, you're on your own. Search and rescue said there's literally nothing that we can do. And besides having to get the battery up there, because we had a You know what? For all the rich assholes that were out, there was one guy that was an all right dude. He had this massive yacht, and we told him that we needed a deep cycle battery, and this guy literally ripped the battery system out of his yacht and gave it to us.
Wow.
And then we put that on horseback and got it up to this kid, along with the solar generator and the energy system. And the most that our government could provide were some fucking plastic water bottles and in the paper.
Yeah, they don't care about us at all, and they just want us to vote them in all the time.
And that was shit. That was one of the coolest ones. Most of the time, we just get the solar generators there. They're delivered by truck or the search and rescue guys. It's not like a big deal. But you know, I've said the same thing. Haiti is having horrible problems. People are starving to death. We can get them supplies nonstop and never put a single aid worker in jeopardy. Not a single one. My drones can fly 24/7, and they will never be attacked by anyone. They'll never be taken hostage, right? I can drop medication, I can drop food, I can drop water, I can drop solar generators. I can get people anything that they possibly could want and put no one in danger.
Well, maybe in 2024 we'll have some new freshmen in the Senate and Congress.
Yes.
I hope so. You guys will make my job a
Yes.
lot easier.
Yes.
Yep.
But like the best that they can offer Haiti is, I think we want to send, I don't know, the military, more death. Best we can do.
I don't know. No military aid.
Right, where for the same price as, you know, with some social media stars sports car, right, third beach house, right, we could get the entire island of Haiti supplies.
That's something I'm going to fight for. Because I can redirect money federally.
Only 6 neonatal units in Puerto Rico. Only 6 of them. We can get all 6 of them solar generators, right? They will be just fine during the entire hurricane. That simple. By next week.
Yeah.
Yep. So true.
So for anybody that's watching and hasn't donated to the People's Fund or donated to our Cash App, Captain Planet, Captain PLNT, it's posted in all of these. If you need Bitcoin wallets and any of that stuff, just DM me and I'll give you our crypto wallets. That was really the only update. I'll be posting about that nonstop until it's fixed. So for some people, it might be a lot. Like, God, guy never shuts up about those fucking solar generators.
Well, we can't.
But I got 1,200 people without access to electricity. It's that simple. We get them 1,200 solar generators, and that problem's fixed. Move on to the next thing. Can you imagine actually fixing a problem in today's world? Can you imagine actually fixing a problem?
Yeah, that'd be beautiful, wouldn't it?
Oh my God, it seems almost insane. People look at you like it's never been done. Actually help someone? I don't know. What's the game here?
I think it's beautiful.
It is. And we're actually going to be helping people. We have the solutions.
You can follow whoever you want, and I don't hold it against them. Right? When you look around the world, out of all of the people that have said they're down for the cause, out of all of the people that said, yeah, donate to me and I'll help this person or that person, I'll help Puerto Rico, I'll help this, I'll help that, I'll help, and none of them ever do. They buy mansions, they buy sports cars, and they fuck off. So I don't hold it personally when people don't believe you.
Yeah.
They've never seen the real, right? You can't be shocked when they've never actually seen a real activist. You know what I mean? And everyone that they thought they did has proven them wrong, right? So when they do see the real deal, they're like, I don't know, this is crazy. Actually helping people? Nah. That doesn't even seem possible. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Right? All I'm saying is give us a chance. I will prove every single one of those motherfuckers.
I'm right there with you, brother.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Is there anything you guys want to put out before we?
No.
Before we.
I'm thankful and I'm humble just to be here, and I'm excited for a next town hall. I have a few topics in my mind.
Well, shoot me a message. Dave's always in touch, and we're going to keep this going, and just as many people as we can platform that are the real deal. And it's weird that is my only, my only caveat, my only stipulation for joining the show is you have to be real, right? If you're not, you're going to have to go somewhere else. That's fine. But I think giving those people a platform and viewers being able to see them, right? Talk to them. A lot of people, they don't even know they exist. you're getting bombarded by the paid ads, right? And their job is to bombard your site with, you know, political bullcrap you don't really care about, right? So you miss a lot of the stuff. I call it distraction media, which our opponents are really great on. And for the viewers that tune in, for the people that watch, they get the opportunity, they get to see that there are real candidates out there. There are people that are willing to do the right thing, that have their hearts and their minds in the right places. So I'm happy, I'm honored to give you guys even the opportunity to use my platform. That was the goal. You know, everybody says, oh, if I had the platform, I'd use it to help, you know, to help people. Well, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. That's fine. Fair enough. I'm game. So thank you for everybody that's watching. Thank you, Christina, for joining. Thank you, Dave, for joining. H. Salas and all the other beautiful people that joined in today. Thank you. Share this out. I'll never tell you who to vote for, but please do your own research. Yes. All right. Stay strong.